Good morning, everybody. Thank you for being here. And we welcome you to the MSPAP Fireside Chat Show. Topic is mystery shopping, sampling or census. How to increase the impact and effectiveness of mystery shopping for enhanced customer experiences. The host of this show is Nabil Rizkala. He is the MSPAP Director of Communication and Marketing. Nabil is the founder and CEO of GWR Consulting UAE. He has experience of several years and has led several, expanded his business all over Middle East and Africa. He's going to be in conversation with Sandeep Arora, Executive Vice President and Global Head Customer Management and Consulting, Datamatics. So over to you, Nabil.
Thank you, Anu. Welcome, everybody. So very exciting talk today because I think we're all hungry for tech and know nothing about it, and seeing the world in fast forward mode. And we're lucky to have Sandeep maybe shed some light and give us a little bit from his experience. So if you give me a second, my software decided to reset now. It's Sandeep's fault because he's into technology. See, Sandeep, those are the issues of technology. Okay, so before we go into it, I'll give a short brief about Sandeep for you, the people that don't know him. So Sandeep comes from a strategic and consulting background with about 25 years of international experience, ranging from Nielsen, Kantar, Mahindra, technically everywhere. He's a disruptive thinker and brings value through digital transformation solutions, which we all need deeply for his clients. Through his career, he has led his clients through some of their most critical initiatives around connecting data platforms, operational excellence, process reengineering, and automation, change management, mobility, and customer experience management. He is the ex-president of Market Research Society of India and an executive member of ISOMAR. And he is a visiting faculty to many top management companies. And as Anu said, he's the vice president and global head of customer management at Datamatics. Datamatics is a new sort of a company or style of companies. It's not a new company, but that delves deep into tech support and tech creation, from AI application to customer management systems, bridging platforms. I guess Sandeep, if you go to their website, you can check. Quite interesting, and Sandeep can give a quicker overview about it. And as the title says, and Sandeep will give us a brief view of what the topic is about better than we do. And then we will go into challenging us mystery shopping companies, to see how technology can or should or will enhance mystery shopping operations. So Sandeep, can you give us a brief overview, a little bit about the topic as you see it? Over.
Well, thank you, Nabil. I really appreciate that. Was very kind words. So one fine day, I just got a call from Anu saying, we need to do a webinar this month. Are you okay? I was like, okay. She didn't give me a choice. So I said, okay. She's like, what's the topic? And I'm sure Anu would be able to validate that I responded with a topic like almost immediately. Simply because it's a topic that was running in my head at that particular point in time. And it's something which actually is happening across multiple industries also. So, and it's a very, very relevant topic. Now that COVID has happened, and the COVID is going to hopefully go away and will not stay in the same magnitude and impact. One of the best sort of blessings that COVID has left us with is the fact that a lot of technology and transformation has happened at a very rapid pace during these last 2 years. And by technology, what I really mean, it's all kinds of things which is pertaining to, automation, pertaining to data management, pertaining to workflows, analytics, cloud, everything of sorts. So all of that combined, in my opinion, sort of comes there. So it's a topic which was in my head, saying that, why am I really doing? How can I leverage technology in the area of mystery shopping? And one of the thoughts which came to my head at that particular point in time was, why am I still doing sampling in a lot of areas? So that's the origin of thought was that, and then it basically grew on. And I have some thoughts, but by no means I have conclusive thoughts. So if anyone has any particular point of view, I'd be happy to go back enriched with some additional thoughts, from today. So feel free to contribute. I mean, in case you have an additional sort of a perspective to the same.
Sandeep, how do you think, if we move on and we talk a little bit about sampling and census, can you explore a little bit more your view on what you mean by sampling and census as it applies to mystery shopping?
Absolutely. So we are all research people here coming from mystery shopping background. So I will not get into explaining what's sampling and what census. We all really know that if we are targeting a certain percentage of the population, that constitutes sampling. And we have been going for sampling in a lot of cases because of constraints, because of the cost, because of the fact that we had a time restriction. We had to get back with our findings very quickly. And therefore, what we would do is basically look at the entire population, assess the heterogeneity of the population. Depending on the heterogeneity, we'll arrive at some sort of a sampling plan, and then go ahead and execute the mystery audit or mystery shopping, right? However, there is a philosophy which exists on customer satisfaction. And that philosophy is that you cannot call your customer satisfaction program effective if even one of the customer goes back unhappy, So as an enterprise, the company has to deliver consistent processes and experience to each and every customer that walks through its door. So it's not a sample, but it's everybody. Even if a single person is not handled well, then the entire SOPs is not sort of working. So it basically got me thinking that what is it that we can do, leveraging technology, which can actually help us improve the width of our coverage, apart from the fact that we'd be able to manage it within that particular time. So can we improve our coverage, therefore improve the comprehensiveness of our findings, and therefore the improvement or enhancement of customer experience by the client for their customers? That
so
explain?
But as you're saying, so let's say there's this size of a population. Obviously, we do a sample for cost purposes, and expanding to reach the whole target population is prohibitively expensive, and let alone being a nightmare for us as companies. Do you think, or what sort of tech solutions can be applied, or you're working on, or you're researching that can allow us to do that in a cost swallowable approach?
So thankfully, as I said, there are a number of solutions that are available today. So they range from us being able to capture video recordings through CCTV cameras of all the places that we want to capture. So it could be the platform of a station to see how people are sort of working there. It could be a retail outlet. It could be any place, literally, And earlier, there was so much so CCTV footage is not a problem. That was there earlier also. But what we now have, for example, is we have AI algorithms which use video analytics to determine any anomalies on the video feed that's coming to them. Of course, I mean, we can define what that anomaly could be, and therefore what kind of a pattern would that really sort of exist into. But that's really how it works. So you have a particular video feed coming in, and basis that you are able to challenge the entire footage. Similarly, you have image analytics, which can be deployed. In some cases, we have been commissioned by our customers like Unilever or like Cadbury's, Mondelez now, where they have supplied visi-coolers to various retailers. They want to see what all is getting stocked in their visi-coolers. So you don't really have to have somebody visit that particular place. If somebody takes a photo of that visi-cooler and that comes back to you and you have the ideal image of the visi-cooler, you have algorithms which can actually do matching of the two images and tell you if at all there is a non-compliance. And it actually goes a step further and says, guess what? The non-compliance is to the extent of 12%, because of these highlighted sort of things. Similarly, you have text analytics, which you can deploy to understand customer interactions over call centers. So if there are call centers, how are people talking? That can be transcribed. One could see how the response of the agent has been, and whether or not that particular agent needs any coaching, training, with regards to handling the customer or handling even complex processes like GDPR compliance or things like that. So there are multiple things which actually can be integrated into the current system. So yeah, I mean, options are plenty. And of course, needless to say that because everything is connected, you could actually run it on any devices. You don't have to depend on a single device. You could actually run it on cloud, and it's therefore analyzable on a real-time basis with alert mechanisms. So you don't have to really wait to gather the report and then compile and send it out, and hopefully somebody would act then. It's really a real-time workflow which sits on, let's say, ticketing platforms. So how you raise the ticket, a non-compliance is basically registered. Till the time it's closed, the ticket remains open. And as soon as it's closed, it basically is called as compliant. So you have your real-time dashboards, which are actually telling you how many tickets are open, how many are closed, what kind of compliance are existing, how many of the non-compliances are critical, and in some cases, if you are able to deploy predictive analytics into the kind of data, log data that you're getting, you can even predict that which are the ones that are likely to become non-compliant very soon if you don't look at it like today. So therefore, the whole world is actually moving in a different direction, I feel.
So you're telling us now, Sandeep, that, from having a descriptive report about the past, which is, depending on the company, I don't know, few days, back to at least real time, and from having a small sample to having maybe a full sample or almost a whole population at least, and that can only be done by the big topic of artificial intelligence or under it machine learning. So you're also now suggesting that we can go from descriptive to predictive analytics and potentially start forecasting what can go wrong somewhere. Do you think there is always an advantage to having such a large approach like a census over a sample?
It's a very interesting question you asked, Nabil. So actually, one of my colleagues, was discussing, he's head of our data sciences. I was discussing the same question with him the other day. And he's like, yeah, of course, census is better in most cases, but in some cases, sample is very important. For example, if your doctor had to check your blood to see whether or not you have a particular infection, you would rather insist that he takes a sample versus a whole census, wouldn't you? So therefore,
give all my blood.
You can't give all
the blood.
Absolutely. So in some cases, census is great because you are able to sort of understand the entire population and get the visibility of how your SOPs are working across the entire set of stakeholders. But in some cases, you would still want to actually just have a look at a small sample and sort of decide. So largely, why is census better than sampling? I mean, if one sort of goes back, I'll become slightly technical here. So as you know, there are largely two types of errors which our findings suffer from. One is called the sampling error. The other is called the non-sampling error. Sampling error happens whenever I end up choosing a sample that's not representative of the population, and therefore it may end up giving me a biased sort of a response to how the population is behaving. So it's a biased representation. Whereas a non-sampling error is, let's say, the error happening because of interviewer bias, or because of the questionnaire design, or because of what I was supposed to report it as, etc., the scales and so on and so forth. Now, incidentally, when you have a sample, as you increase the sample, the sampling error comes down. Because of the formula of the sampling error, which is inversely proportional to the size of the sample. If you were to increase the sample, the sampling error comes down. However, when you increase the sample, your non-sampling error starts actually adding up. So somewhere you really have to take a balanced call as a researcher to say that, how do I get the most optimum mix of sampling error and non-sampling error at the same time? I don't want to, so let's say if there is an interviewer bias, and if I was to do a census, then imagine the amount of multiplier that the interviewer bias would create in the whole findings. So therefore, I have to actually take a balanced output or an approach there. So I'm not sure if that answers the question, Nabil. So in what
it does, and you're shedding light to a discussion that I personally have with many people. I mean, once the world is introduced to a new technology, first there is denial that you don't need it. Then you start looking at it if you are in any leadership role. And when you are at our age, learning something new is quite difficult.
Yeah.
And then you need to see how to implement it. And then you might think it's easy. And then you implement it and you crash, because basically without proper change management and understanding the issues becomes very difficult. Question. So is buying a AI or machine learning solution? Let's say the other day you and I were talking that potentially reading a camera CCTV of a question that we put all of us in our surveys, were you greeted at the door, or did the staff member smile at you? Now that is easily read and managed and, like you explained, controlled by an AI. Can I buy something like that off the shelf, or do I need an expert to work it for me, my particular business, and set it up properly? Or is this can be done in-house in any company? What's your thoughts on that?
Would you want me to play that video? I can just search for it and see if that works.
As you wish. Whatever works for you. I mean, how sophisticated is it to set it up? And do we need intermediary companies to do that? And so all of us, I guess, we're tech newbies, if we want to be tech, or tech wannabes.
Yeah.
So we'd benefit if you can walk us through a little bit. How would a system like that be used by us?
All right, let me give you a sample of it. Let me just share my screen very quickly and take you through. Let me know if you can hear the video.
Hello everyone. Here we are going to test the new facial detection tool.
Are you able to hear the video?
Yeah, I can.
Okay, great. So I will actually not have you go through the entire thing. I have actually listed down few points. So what this particular application does, for example, we try to identify and this is for example, created for a particular use case, for us being able to look at a candidate taking an exam. So whether or not he's taking the exam correctly, without cheating, without referring to anybody else or anything else, we sort of developed this one. And largely what it does is it can help you identify these 4 elements as of now. So one, whether or not full face is visible, and whether or not the person is talking, and any other person detected in the background, and any other object detected in the background. It also tries to ensure that throughout the particular presentation or the entire examination, it's the same person who sort of exists. And it's not like the exam started with an X person, but somewhere during the time, everything else being met, the person has actually been replaced by somebody else. So so let's see what happens. And this is all driven by AI. And the machine basically determines the patterns.
It has been following 4 features. First one is, as you can see, the full face prompt. Second one is, and the fourth one is any other object detected.
I'll just keep fast forwarding it.
But here, as you can see, I'm already wearing spectacles. If I try moving the specs once, it is still detecting my face very clearly. So I'll put my spectacles back. The second scenario that we are going to test is the low light taking the detected properly. Now we will test extreme darkness in the room. So I'll switch the other light and I'll switch off the other light. Here, the only light on my face is from the laptop screen. And as you can see, if I come a bit closer, it is still detecting my face properly.
See here.
But I'll have to be a bit closer to the camera. As soon as I go this far, it stops detecting the face. But this much darkness in the room. Scenarios here are sometimes the camera is covered partially with any object. So if I try covering the camera with my finger, so as far as almost 60% of my face is visible in the camera, it is giving a prompt of yes. As soon as the face is covered more than 50%, it will give a prompt of no. So the face should be at least 50% visible in the camera. It has to be looking at the center of the screen. So if I'll have any other person in the camera frame, it will immediately give a prompt of yes. As soon as any other person comes in the camera frame, it will give a prompt of yes. And any other object detected. Suppose if I try holding my phone like this, as soon as it comes in the camera frame, it will give a prompt of that any other object is detected. Currently, it is giving a prompt that a phone is being detected here. Again, it is detecting an object, but it is giving a prompt of phone. I'll have
So yeah, that was just an sort of example of what's available. So to answer your question, Nabil, this for a test use case where the candidate was taking the test, and we wanted to see whether or not he is following the necessary, things to do, whatever the desired behavior is. Any outlier behavior is detected. So to answer your question, the basic thing is available off the shelf. And what is not available and what takes a bit of time are 2 things. One is domain-related inputs. So in this case, the domain-related input was that it has to be the same person who has applied for the examination and he has to stay right through. And these are some of the things that he should be doing or not be doing. Similarly, if we are to do the same exercise for a retail measurement, what you intend to measure from the AI needs to be provided through the domain expert. And therefore, you can apply it and develop that. The second element which you have to sort of bear with some patience is that AI is actually a self-learning and self-evolving tool. So in the beginning, it may actually end up throwing some false positives or true negatives, but you have to keep correcting it so that it basically learns as to going forward, if you come across such a situation, then you have to identify an X versus a Y. So those are the two things which have to happen alongside, but largely 80% of the build is available off the shelf, and 20 to 25% goes into customization and training.
Thank you, Sandeep. So if we look at that, I think if we look at industries like transportation with Uber, and hotels and lodging with Airbnb, and the smartphone with apps for Nokia, are we looking that once we have AI take up much of such measurements to take over the place of research? And what do you envisage the role of research to be in the world where there is an exponential improvement or growth in technology?
I think what you've asked is $1 million question. Because if we do not tame this dog called technology, it will eat us. So we have to ensure that we are the masters of what we want to do and use the technology as a tool to improve our effectiveness, rather than become the slaves of technology and start deploying technology everywhere and anywhere. We should certainly not do that. So in my opinion, where this can particularly be applied is wherever you really need a lot of manual effort or something which is large scale repetitive, is where you could actually deploy technology to give you the logs. And for the incremental place where you really need a human subjective element to see whether or not somebody is smiling and whether that smile is a mechanical smile or a heartfelt smile, I think you should really have humans. So if somebody has to analyze the logs, let it be the machine. And the machine basically does it across 100% of the customers. And the mystery shoppers basically do it for the sample, and they basically go and identify the incremental role that they are supposed to basically be adding to the entire scenario. Having said that, the projects that we should really pitch for should be end-to-end. It should no longer say that, oh, I'm just going to do some 23 mystery shopping exercises. We should basically change the brief now to say, how can I help you get to a zero non-satisfied customer state? And for us to get there, I will actually use a hybrid approach. The hybrid approach would include Census using technology interventions, which is coupled by my very experienced mystery shoppers who will add in the layer of intelligence so that I basically come back with a full understanding and the scope of it. So basis that, I hope if we are able to do that, we will be a lot more effective. We will also be a lot more efficient and therefore be able to hopefully make slightly more margins in the current cost pressures that we currently run with. And last but not the least, we would also get a lot more respect from our clients, because now we would be adding a consulting value layer versus a very simple presentation of saying, what percent was compliant and what percent was not compliant. So it basically helps you improve your own status as a sector and the kind of value that you bring to the table.
Okay, so if you want to summarize that, that would be things that are repetitive, and we can scale them from sample to census should be thrown onto the technology monster that's growing, and things that would require still human-to-human interaction with elaboration, if I may say, and consulting can be left to that part of mystery shopping. And then you're suggesting the service to be merged, like we should be delivering this and that as a package.
As a package, as an end-to-end solution, a combination of artificial intelligence and natural intelligence.
And that way, and that way we would be controlling the beast as opposed to the beast controlling us.
Absolutely, Nabil. I think.
Nabil, there's a question.
Yeah, I will share. So thank you, Sandeep. I'll close my part here, and I will share some questions that are coming through on the chat. So Wang is asking, what do you think about AI that has facial recognition abilities to be able to detect customers' emotions?
Absolutely. So that is a very mature segment today. So you are able to understand sentiments and emotions both. It depends on the use case you have. So to answer your question, is that technology available? The answer is yes. Also gives you a scale, like is the person uninterested, or is the person involved, or is he angry, or is he happy, is he curious, or is he surprised? So you get those kind of emotions, and plus you also get sentiments, whether it's positive, negative, neutral, and on a scale.
Is it like culturally sensitive? Does it can it tell the nuances between each culture, how they express their emotions?
Okay, so the sales and marketing answer would be yes, but I know that we are a bit far from there, simply because there have to be enough use cases for us to be able to train the machine. Can the machine be trained? The answer is yes. Is the machine trained as of today? The answer is no. Why is it not trained? The answer is because there have not been sufficient requirements in that area, which is why. The moment we have as an industry, then of course, all of this will grow at a fairly rapid pace. So that's not a problem.
Clear. Anybody else would like to share some questions? Benefit from Sandeep's long experience in strategy and technology.
Nabil, hello.
Hi, Aftab.
Hi, Sandeep, and everybody.
Hi, Aftab. How are you?
Very well, thank you. Do we have the liberty to ask the question directly, or we go through you?
Of course, Mr. President. Do we dare not say yes?
Maybe Sandeep says come through the right channel, so that's why I asked this question. Anyway, it was very interesting. It is still very interesting, and thank you, everybody. Good questions asked by Nabil and very good answers given by Sandeep. Sandeep, I have one or two things I need you to clarify. One is, in fact, I wouldn't say you clarify, but I will give my explanation. You can give your opinion on that. Expert opinion. Number one, sampling versus census. Now, in mystery shopping, it is very, very important to first determine what is the purpose of the exercise, because sampling doesn't work everywhere, every time in mystery shopping. Why I would say, you can say, I want to have a flavor of the general services being provided by my company or some company, and they have about 100 branches or 200, whatever stores. And we pick up some and we say, well, this is the sort of conditions prevalent across board, right? We can say that the service levels are not good. But there are other issues which are related, which you have actually talked about, but I want some more clarification on that. And that is, how do we use this technology? First of all, I think technology should help mystery shopping. Mystery shopping should adopt technology rather than technology adopting mystery shopping. So what would we do? Because one of the aspects of mystery shopping is that we do that here. We put various stores in competition with each other. Who's performing better? Now, when we do that, sampling doesn't work. Then we have to go across. That is number one. Because if you pick up samples, people don't like that if in my region there are 50 stores and 5 are not working or 6 are not working well, that doesn't mean I'm not working well. So you can't say you will not be rewarded. The region, yes, can be, but if it is store-to-store competition, then you have to go. Number one. Number two, the cameras. We had this question asked by one or two of our clients that we have got cameras and we can, see everything happening in our stores. The fact is that they can't listen. They can see, but they can't listen. I mean, what if somebody walks in and he says, well, I know where the product is and I'm just here to pick up. And nobody helps that person. And the score gets a negative point of scoring because nobody approached that customer, but nobody could hear him say or her say that I know where the product is and I'm just here to pick it up. So the human interaction, as you have mentioned, is very, very important. In fact, quite important. The compliance part, yes, are things in place? Are they working functionally? That's fine. Are all the tills covered? How many people waiting? That can be covered. The second thing which I would want to ask you is, don't you think with too much use of technology in the stores, we are expecting our staff to act like robots rather than normal human beings? I mean, we have to give them freedom. And if everything is focused on their faces or on their acts, I don't know whether they will be comfortable. These are the two things I just thought I would share with you. You can explain or correct me.
I think both are very valid points, Aftab. So I was reading a book very recently. It's called The Velocity of Change. It basically starts with a photo of Ford Mustang and of 1964 and a Ford Mustang of like today. And it compares the outside. So more or less from outside, it looks very similar. There's not too much of change. Of course, there is some modernization, but largely it looks the same. And the next one is when it opens the engine compartment. So the engine compartment of 1964 and engine compartment of today is like completely different. There is no semblance of it. So it basically goes on to say that in this current digital age, we are actually living with a contradiction as customer experience people, and that contradiction is that with every passing day, we are trying to make the user interface simpler and simpler, right? If you look at the mobile phone of today, the iPhone of today versus the mobile phone of 2004, I'm sure you would agree that the advanced and intuitive user interface of the mobile phone is of today, isn't it? Compared to what it was earlier.
Yeah.
Isn't it? Having said that, the back end is also more complicated of the mobile phone of today. So what it goes to say is you have to make the user interface simpler and simpler. And in order to make the user interface simple and simpler, your back end will end up becoming more and more complex. So therefore, we will have to try and provide tools to our mystery auditors and shoppers to make it more and more simple for them to do their work. However, the heavy lifting is basically being done by the technology. which is actually making it more and more complex backend, so that you can actually come up with better analysis at the end of the day. The objective is to see how can I cover the whole population in the same time and cost as that of a sample. Can that be achieved? Linearly, the answer is no. It can be achieved, however, when you are able to leverage some different elements and put a mix together. So I think that's where it's evolving to, in my opinion.
Well, yes, I agree. But when, let's say, we are monitoring 100 stores through technology, what sort of backend support is needed or required? What is the expense involved to have that 200 stores or 500? In certain cases, there are banks who have got about 2,000 branches. So how, except that the machine, the cameras or technology calculates everything on its own, does all the working on its own, then yes, of course. But as you said, that physically monitoring probably will not be possible. And I agree, yes, if we have that kind of technology which is working in 2,000 stores and churning out data, fine. Then, and that is reliable data, yeah, of course.
The question, therefore, is there are, I think one of the two scenarios will emerge. The first scenario is our client would start using the entire data that's already available to him, which is coming through CCTV footage, which is coming through the logs, and analyze it by themselves, and only give us a very small piece to do mystery shopping on, right? So basically, my entire billing goes down by 1/10. The other scenario is where we take the lead and we tell him that you give the data to me, I will analyze your data as well as do mystery audit, and I'll give you the final output. In which case, your current billing goes up by 10x. Oh, sorry, not 10x, probably, maybe 2x, 3x, or whatever. But the profitability would certainly go up by 10x. So the choice is on to us. Which scenario do we want to lead ourselves into? There is no third scenario, in my opinion. Sorry for being slightly pessimistic here, but
No.
I think
That's a reality.
Absolutely. The sooner we accept it, the better off we would be, isn't it?
Yeah, because we have to, there is a lot of discussion going on, what is the future of mystery shopping? And the future of mystery shopping is being questioned, not because of any other reason, but because of the fact that technology is creeping in, right? And people have started making use of technology. But, to be honest, probably it's too early to get the technology involved in, I wouldn't say mystery shopping, in many areas, because what we have experienced is one of our clients who was very high-tech came back to mystery shopping after 2 years because for whatever reason. We didn't question them because we never wanted them to sort of start rethinking of not doing mystery shopping again. But they came back because they gave up saying that we have the technology to look into the things that you provide us on a monthly basis. We can get it through technology. So we said, fine. Okay. Like, I'll just give you a very simple example. One of the things was, it was a bank, and they said that we have now got, one of the most important things which they were concerned about was the wait time of a customer walking in. That was very, very close to their heart, that anybody walking in must be dealt with immediately, and whatever reason that person is there for should be dealt with. So they had those Qmatic, which is normal standard. So the smart tellers, what they started doing, they said that if you want to make a pay order or a draft, it should not take more than 3 to 4 minutes. They had some minutes, which I don't recall now. Fine. So as you approach the teller, you say, I have to get this draft. And he looks at it, he goes on the computer and he prints it and he takes out the document, gives it to the person sitting next who's authorized to sign. He signs it and there you go in 3 minutes or 4 minutes. The smart people, you know what they started doing? They would press a button, number 84. 84 walks in and he says, I want to get this thing made. He would take it, keep it on the left side, press 85. 85 will come and he'll ask that person, please sit down. I'll give it to you in a few minutes. And he would give it to him after 15 minutes, 12 minutes, or 13 minutes. So this is what surfaced. The people started countering the technology. But anyway, I think going forward, as you said, that the technology has to learn a few things before, you know, it takes over a major part of our daily activities, yes. But as of now, we have to prepare ourselves how to make the best of it. Over to Nabil.
Thank you, Aftab. I mean, everything you said and Sandeep said are accurate. I think what that means, I mean, this discussion means we are all still us, technology companies and the client, discovering what's the role of the human and what's the role of the machine. There is no doubt there is a role for both. But what is it? We're still in the discovery phase, all of us. You cannot operate without a machine and you cannot operate without a human. If you look at Amazon, at some point in 2015, they started writing books about the retail apocalypse and the end of the world and e-commerce, blah, blah, blah. And then to everybody's surprise, a year after, Amazon started opening their own outlets, physical brick and mortar. I mean, the world is going to go into I'm digitally inclined, but I went to a hotel and that had no staff to receive you. Everything is digital. And then the next day, I saw about 10 staff members all over the place. Why? The software was not working. People didn't know what to do. Things were crashing. And then it was taking more time to teach the people to learn on the technology than to go in, blah, 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 going on to that. We humans like humans, and there is no doubt things eventually work out. Like if you go to the airport now and you can get scanned by the iris thing and you pass without having to get stamped in certain airports, technology works. There's no doubt about it, but it needs time. And then you learn about new things that no machine can do, which is a human interpretation of a process that is happening right now. Like only a human that is from a certain culture can tell if they're satisfied at that particular moment in a certain interaction. I think one day, a long time ago, in the future, machines will do that. But I think that what is Sandeep saying, and I think we should think about this very, very efficiently, and we need to consider it and discuss it amongst ourselves. Anything that is simple, we need to throw it to the machine, but we need to throw it. We don't want tech companies to come and share the pie with us. They need to come through us, and we take the lead and get that chunk that is repetitive and low level of human interaction, like facial recognition of, I don't know, being nice or opening the door or 30 seconds or whatever, and leave the human interpretation to us. I think that's how we can approach tech now. Anybody else has questions to Sandeep? You will not get another chance to get detailed replies from somebody that is from a tech and research background.
Yeah, he's got a good combination. Yeah, very good combination.
Yeah.
See, because as mystery shopping companies, we need to accept technology as our spouse. You know, we may not like at times, but we have to live together. That's something we need to look into. It has to be that sort of relationship.
We have 3 minutes left, ladies and gentlemen, before we have to close at 10. Right, Anu?
Yeah.
So
anybody has questions, we can take. We have.
Or share your experience or.
Hi. Hi.
Wong.
Thank you very much for your sharing. That's very useful and helpful for us. we have a challenging. I would like to seek your advice and also other participants' advice, because we try to guide customer, our client, seeing mystery shopper as a tool to control their staff to meet with the customer service quality. However, our client also seeing it as a tool to punish their staff instead of helping them or motivate them to improve their customer service or serve customers better. So, I mean, is there anyone made the similar challenges and any solution for that, or any, technology applied that can support to reduce that challenge? Thank you.
Very interesting question, Wong. So yes, I honestly don't know how to respond to it.
Sandeep,
One of the rare cases when I don't have an answer.
okay, doesn't matter. I will. Wong, you said that, Sandeep, if you allow, may I answer on your behalf? I may not be as impressive as you are, but I can, since you. Wong, what you said, I couldn't hear you properly, but what you said is that your clients use mystery shopping or its results to punish the staff. Is that right?
Right.
And you are asking, Sandeep, that how technology can help. No, technology will not help, because technology will also give the same results, or more or less same results, which a human person walks in and gives you. Now, let me tell you something. I will go back about 20 years, 25 years. And I will tell you that mystery shopping started on a commercial basis in US. So in Americas, the mystery shopping was used at times it was used to punish people, like in your case. And, there were instances which were surfaced that somebody didn't like somebody, and he would say that mystery shop that store 3 times in a month, and it would pick up one results and, make that as a case to get rid of that person or to punish that person. Look, if you read the guidelines, I'm sure you must have gone through the guidelines, and there is something which says that this should be used to improve. It says that, to improve. So when we are making presentations to the client, and I would suggest you, when you are making presentation to the clients or pitching to the client, one thing you must emphasize, and we do that, please do not use this to punish people. You can train them, you can rehabilitate them, maybe transfer them that this person is not probably fit for this. That's the worst thing you can do. But do not punish people.
Let me add something to that idea of Tab. In psychology, for people that don't know, I'm trained in psychology. In psychology, the behavioral change, cognitive behavioral change, is based on the number one, positive reinforcement. Like if you want to change somebody's behavior, positive reinforcement is the most efficient. Then negative reinforcement, which means you reward them by taking away something that is negative to them. So people that don't like to give economic reward, and then third one is punishment. Like the least effective is punishment. It's not zero, but it's the least effective. Now in the East, all of us, once you cut from East West, when you got to East, all of us in our cultures, first thing that comes to a business owner is punishment for some reason. It's frustration and they're tired. I don't know what happens. And going into the adventure of doing positive reinforcement, first they feel they're going to get abused. But I think if I want to answer instead of Sandeep, the beauty of using a machine into the work is that whatever the result is, it's not a person giving it to you, it's a machine, and therefore you have to take it as a neutral entity that has given a result. And you cannot say this one hates me, he gave a fake result, this shopper is biased, he doesn't like me, or this is whatever. You didn't open the door within 5 seconds, or like Aftab said, you didn't serve the bank client within 2 minutes. and we have 50 days that you operated in, and 40 of them you did not. The machine said you did not, and therefore you're at the bottom of the leaderboard, and then your colleague is at the top of the leaderboard. Your colleague takes Sundays off and takes the weekend off, and you don't. And he gets a bonus and you don't, and then you have to absorb it. I think that would be a partial advantage to having a machine doing it.
Maybe what Yong was saying is not that the results are being challenged. It's not the question of results being challenged. Point is the results are accepted, but the use of the results, the use, whether the results are given by a machine or a human being, are acceptable to the client, but the client uses it negatively.
Agreed. I got it.
Look, we keep asking, I keep at least asking my clients that, what is the criteria to have people working at the front desk? What are the bases on which they are hired? 99% of the clients have no fixed criteria or job description or hiring criteria for the front office. What they do is they pick up somebody from somewhere and they say, okay, put him in the front desk. That guy has never smiled in his life, but he's forced to smile because he's now in the front desk. So what we need to have is the right people. And for that, we need to have a criteria with the HR department to pick up people for the front desk. But, they just go on rotating people from other areas to front desk, and from front desk, they punish them. You don't smile, you don't welcome. Well, the guy says, I never smile to my even girlfriend. So why are you asking me to smile to somebody I don't know? So they say, okay, go back. He's no good. It's not his fault. But anyway, Wong, maybe, and Sandeep, I don't know whether you're satisfied with my answer or not, but you must emphasize that it should not be used for punishment, this program. It should be used to reward and train people.
I'll try my best. Thank you guys for
Okay, so I'm off camera. I think we have it's 10:05. We are 5 minutes over the time, right, Anu? So thank you, Sandeep, for sharing all your experience with us, and thank you, Aftab, for the interpretation, applying it to the mystery shopping and all those discussions. I think it's very valuable, and I think we need to keep this discussion open and have more of it, and get to some sort of an understanding that's deeper to us. And I guess if somebody wants to ask a question later, you can drop an email to Anu, and then we will send it to Sandeep, and we will share the answer with you in our new communication channels that we will share soon. Thank you all.